I wish I would have completely laser focused on the vanilla direct mail lead program. Okay. I am doing today, this week, next week, conceivably for as long as I could, with the exception of some Facebook leads and stuff like that I experiment with time to time. 95% of my lead generation is direct mail, okay? And referral generation. I've worked that in too, just to be fair. But the primary source of purchase leads has been exactly the same as it was when I first started in this business, okay? And the likelihood of that being exactly the same for the next 6 years, the next 16 years, for the rest of my career is very high because of the people we deal with. And it's funny, you go on convention, everybody there pretty much does the same kind of direct mail lead systems when you go on these carrier trip conventions. So the question becomes, why even fool with that kind of background? Why even try to do something different when you know you can apply this system to this market and you get X results if you put the work in? You know, I'm not saying you can't be creative, because I do have a creative side to me, and I think it's a good thing. It's just you have to temper it and discipline it and be sober about it. Because what happened in my business is I got to, again, this point 6 to 9 months in where I thought I was smarter than the business. And I developed this new lead. I had them call a voicemail. They listened to a recorded message for 15 minutes and then left their information. And my thought was that these are going to be really pre-qualified prospects. Because if they spend all the time on the phone and they listen to this and then I go see them, I'll write them up. And while I got results from them, I realized I spent a lot more money to get that. I really didn't get as many people necessarily who were more well qualified. And as it compared to a regular business reply, state regulated final expense mailer that I use now, and most agents do as well who are in direct mail system, in my agency at least, the results were not as good as the vanilla type of system. And that's what's crazy. That's what struck me as crazy, because I have a marketing background. I had a personal training gym. I had ads that made me a lot of money, that brought in a lot of clients. So I was self-professed a pretty good marketing person. And I thought I could overcome this silly, vague language on this card and all those silly objections people have and dumb reasons they send the card in by doing this, newfangled idea. And it didn't even work nearly as well. And that's what's crazy about this, is that what I realized in my maturity in this business is that, and really through recruiting others, because other people I've realized have the same kind of desires. They want to do something better than this direct mail system. They don't want to sit down and have people who think it's free, or they're deadbeats that can't afford anything. And but they want to get around that. And they've tried, and they'll try other things, and they'll spend money that doesn't result in anything. And I've seen it again and again and again. And that's when I realized that if you look back from 2011, when I've been in this business, the direct mail system has been around for 30 years. Why is it that we're using the same thing 30 years later? And that's lack of maturity and perspective I did not have at the time, is why I made the crucial mistake of thinking I could improve it. Because trust me, over the last 30 years, from 2011 to the 80s, I'm sure hundreds of people had tried these newfangled ideas and new lead systems and didn't get results either, many of them leaving the business like I did ultimately because I was tapped out and broke. And so that's what's crazy about it, is that with looking back, if I had just applied the direct mail system that worked nationally, that was working nationally, that was producing great results, as it is today, but back then, if I just did what I was told, then I wouldn't have had a lot of this frustration that I ultimately had to deal with. And that's what's crazy about it, is it's just, this business is really that, it's so simple, it's complicated. Because it's hard to get people who have creative elements that want to try to improve a system, maybe like an engineering type of mentality, to get them to unhinge themselves from that mentality and just trust the system. And again, I know lots of guys that have failed out of the business or have spent unknown amounts of money that have cost them a lot of time and effort to really yield very minimal results, when this thing right here actually just works just fine if they just follow it.